Hi everyone, I'm Joshua Curving and welcome to another Death Battle prediction video, but first Captain Falcon versus Johnny Cage. This episode actually went pretty much exactly as I kind of had predicted it would, especially with them basically taking into account like comic canon, the animated series, and the games all kind of wrapping it all up into one. I didn't expect them to kind of more or less scale Rio to Douglas and basically scaling them to the prior ones, but the way that they did that does actually make quite a bit of sense. The animation was actually really friggin' good. Like, that section on the booster pads was like, probably one of the best sprite battles we've had in quite a while, and we've had some really good sprite battles, not only just this season, but prior seasons as well. So it was definitely a really, really good one. And then next we have a very, very heavily requested fight in Edward Elric versus Aang. This one is kind of straightforward in just a very, very interesting way. So basically, both of them with just Aang and Edward. That alone is a really close fight that Edward ends up winning. There's basically some really solid feats in Full Metal Alchemist where like entire, like extremely large buildings are just like completely destroyed in like massive blasts. I think it ended up being something around like a town level was where both of them were actually kind of sitting. And if I recall, it was just Edward just clinching out just a little bit above. And then, in terms of speed, both of them were fairly similar, but Aang having a bit of an edge due to the lightning timing, which has always been a very contended feat in Avatar. I don't quite understand why, because you have people like Iroh, who, the first time that we ever saw lightning bending, it was done to natural cloud-to-ground lightning. So I think it does decently apply that lightning bending is more or less real lightning. So basically with that speed advantage, Aang does have that there. But then in terms of the actual abilities, it kind of did go more towards Edward's side. But one certain ability completely swaps that, and that would be the Avatar state. I am kind of glossing over quite a few things here because I do try to have to kind of make this quicker, but so basically the Avatar state, which gives Aang access to all of his prior avatars, basically all the prior people. Now, we haven't seen very much of these people. In fact, there's probably only about like 6 or 7 that we actually even know the names of. But we don't need to know all of their names in this case because we've seen some of the feats that some of them have made. Usually we only see like a couple seconds in a clip of them or something like that. Some of them are more prominent, like obviously Roku and Kyoshi and people like that. And Kyoshi in particular has a feat where she basically like splits a peninsula off and makes it its own island. But you also have things like, for example, the fire avatar before Roku had basically set off an entire chain of volcanoes. Now that feat just completely crushes anything that Edward might have brought. So it kind of does come down to the fact that Aang is faster, and once he goes into the Avatar state, it's kind of done there, because he gains access to feats and people and bending strategy that he just completely steamrolls at that point. I am pretty excited to see what goes down with the animation for this one as well. And there is something to be said for energy bending, which is one of Aang's strategies. It's questionable if it would actually remove Edward's connection to alchemy, and ultimately he doesn't need it to win. I am kind of curious what Death Battle's take on that will be. I ultimately don't think it would necessarily work, just because of kind of how alchemy works in Full Metal Alchemist. And energy bending does kind of seem to be more geared specifically towards the bending that was provided by the lion turtles. So it might be too specific to actually count in this case. But I do think Aang is probably going to win. The only way that Aang wouldn't do so is basically if Edward manages to get him before he goes into Avatar state, which I kind of doubt is going to happen considering the speed advantage Aang has. Well, so that's all I'm going to say for this one for now, and I will see you guys for the next one. Have yourselves a great day.